Holy crap. I didn't expect my last post to blow up like that. My notifications have been going absolutely insane. Thank you all for the support and advice. Reading through your comments has honestly helped me feel less crazy about this whole situation. So many of you asked about the Starbucks meeting, and what happened during those 3 days. I was MIA. So here's the update I promised. When I walked away from my house that night, my mind was completely blank except for one thought: don't let them see you break. I sat in my car for maybe 15 minutes, just letting the heater run, while I stared at my hands gripping the steering wheel so tight my knuckles went white. I didn't cry. I didn't punch the dashboard. I just existed. The roads were absolutely treacherous, like seeing abandoned cars in ditches bad. I managed to find this 24-hour diner called Mel's that still had power. The place was practically empty except for 2 truckers and the waitress who looked like she was questioning her life choices. I ordered coffee and sat in a corner booth, trying to process what had just happened. My phone died around 1 a.m., which was probably for the best. I didn't want to see whatever garbage Eleanor or her family might be texting. I just sat there until sunrise, nursing the same coffee for hours while the waitress, her name was Josephine, total MVP, kept refilling it without charging me extra. When morning came, I borrowed the diner's phone to call my buddy Brandon. We hadn't hung out much since Eleanor's family moved in. They never liked him because he once called them out for monopolizing every conversation at my birthday dinner last year. Brandon didn't ask questions when I called, just said, "Come over, door's unlocked, I'll make breakfast." That's when things got interesting. While staying at Brandon's, I did 3 critical things. 1, I got a new phone with a new number, kept my old one to monitor messages but didn't respond to anyone. The old phone stayed off most of the time to preserve battery since I didn't bring my charger. 2, I went to check our joint account. Guess what? Empty. Not completely, but damn near. There was $372 left in an account that had over $8,000 last time I checked, about 2 months ago. I checked the transaction history. Eleanor had been slowly moving money to an account I didn't recognize for months. In total, about $7,800 of our money disappeared. 3, I went to our bank's branch and got into our safety deposit box to secure important documents. Birth certificate, car title, etc. Thankfully, I'd put these there before her family moved in, so they couldn't touch them. Brandon was incredible through all of this. He let me crash on his couch, listen to me rant, and help me brainstorm next steps. He even let me borrow clothes, since I literally had nothing but what I was wearing when I got locked out. The second day, I went to work and spoke with HR about my situation. Not for sympathy, but to make sure Eleanor or her family couldn't cause problems for me. My manager, Thomas, was surprisingly understanding. Turns out his sister went through something similar with her ex. He even offered to have security keep an eye out in case they showed up looking for me. I also met with a financial advisor to discuss options for separating finances and protecting what little I had left. Not the cheapest consultation, but worth every penny for the peace of mind. On day 3, I finally turned on my old phone to see what was happening. Guys, the messages. The first few were exactly what you'd expect. 9:43 a.m. Friday. Eleanor. Very mature, Atlas. When are you planning to come home? 11:27 a.m. Friday. Eleanor. Mom and Dad think you're being ridiculous. Autumn says he was just joking. 2:16 p.m. Friday. Eleanor's mom. Atlas, this behavior is unacceptable. Eleanor's very upset. Then around dinner time Friday, the tone shifted. 6:32 p.m. Friday. Eleanor. Where are you staying? At least let me know you're okay. 7:14 p.m. Friday. Eleanor. I called Brandon, but he said he hasn't heard from you. Please just text back. 8:45 p.m. Friday. Eleanor. Your work said you called in. At least I know you're alive. By Saturday morning. Full panic mode. 7:13 a.m. Saturday. Eleanor. Atlas, please answer. This isn't funny anymore. 7:14 a.m. Saturday. Eleanor. I'm worried something happened to you. 8:22 a.m. Saturday. Eleanor's dad. Son, we need to talk about what happened. This silent treatment isn't solving anything. 9:07 a.m. Saturday. Autumn. Hey man, I was just messing around. Didn't mean anything by it. Come home so we can sort this out. Saturday afternoon is when it got really interesting. 1:44 p.m. Saturday. Eleanor. We filed a missing person report, but the police said since you called work, they can't do anything. Please just come home. 2:33 p.m. Saturday. Eleanor. Your sister called me asking where you were. Did you tell her what happened? Fun fact, I didn't. But my sister Dorothy has always seen through Eleanor's BS. By Sunday, the messages were coming in every hour, increasingly desperate. 9:14 a.m. Sunday. Eleanor, please come home. I'm sorry. We were just joking around. 9:30, 2 a.m. Sunday. Eleanor's mom. Atlas, we never meant for you to actually leave. Please come back so we can talk this through as a family. 10:17 a.m. Sunday. Eleanor, I love you. Please come back. I'll make this right. 11:45 a.m. Sunday. Autumn. Dude, everyone's freaking out. Just let us know you're okay. I'm sorry about what I said. The last message before I responded was from Eleanor. 2:17 p.m. Sunday. Eleanor, please, I'll do anything. Just come home. That's when I sent the Starbucks message. Now, about that meeting, I specifically said come alone for a reason. Guess what Eleanor did? Showed up with her entire entourage, parents, brother, the whole circus. When I walked in and saw them all sitting there, I almost walked right back out. But I decided to play it cool. I sat down, looked Eleanor directly in the eyes, and said we agreed she'd come alone. She started crying, of course, saying she was scared and needed support. Her mom immediately jumped in, saying they were all concerned about me and just wanted to help. I stayed completely calm and asked one simple question. Where did the $7,800 from our joint account go? The look on their faces, priceless. Eleanor stammered something about emergency family expenses, while her dad tried to change the subject. Autumn actually had the audacity to say I was being selfish about money at a time like this. I pulled out bank statements showing the systematic withdrawal of funds over several months. Asked again, point blank, where's the money, Eleanor? That's when she broke down and admitted her parents had been having financial difficulties, and she'd been helping them out without telling me. Apparently, they'd lost a bunch of money in some sketchy investment scheme, but didn't want to tell me because they knew I'd be judgmental. Her father started getting defensive, saying I should be grateful they were even living with us because their expertise and connections were valuable to our future. What expertise? The man can't even figure out how to use Netflix without calling for help. I didn't yell, didn't make a scene. I just slid a piece of paper across the table with 3 demands. Return all the money within 48 hours. They all move out of the house within 1 week. Eleanor starts couples counseling with me if she wants any chance of saving our marriage. Her mother actually laughed and said, we're not going anywhere. That house is as much ours as yours now. That's when I played my trump card. I pulled out my phone and showed them the video I'd taken of the night they locked me out. Yes, I had the presence of mind to record the last minute of that interaction before my phone died. Crystal clear audio of Autumn saying, freeze to death, worthless idiot, and Eleanor laughing. I explained very calmly that if the money wasn't returned, and if they didn't move out, this video would be sent to every family member, friend, and Eleanor's workplace. I also mentioned that I'd already spoken with a lawyer, a small lie, but they didn't need to know that, about both the financial theft and the potential charges related to recklessly endangering someone's life during a state-declared weather emergency. The Starbucks got very quiet. Eleanor was sobbing. Her mom was seething. Her dad looked like he'd seen a ghost. Autumn just stared at his coffee. I stood up, told Eleanor to let me know her decision by the end of the day, and walked out. That was yesterday. This morning, I checked my account. $7,800 had been deposited. I also got a text from Eleanor saying her family would be out by Friday and asking if we could talk privately. I haven't responded yet. I'm still working out my next steps, but I've connected with Eleanor's Aunt Dorothy, the family black sheep who was pushed out years ago. She's been filling me in on the family's long history of similar behavior with others. There's a lot more to this story, including what I'm planning to do about the marriage itself, but this post is already too long. I'll update again after Friday once I see if they actually move out. One thing's for sure, I'm never going back to being the doormat they wiped their feet on for years. The old Atlas froze to death that night in the snow. The one who walked away is someone else entirely. Finally, update. First thing I noticed when I finally walked back into my own house last Friday, they'd completely rearranged the living room furniture. Like, who does that on their way out? The couch was against a different wall. The TV stand was at this weird angle, and my favorite recliner, the one Eleanor always complained about, was shoved in the corner like some kind of punishment. Such a petty final move, but weirdly, it made me laugh. First genuine laugh I'd had in weeks. Thanks for all the support on my previous posts. Reading your comments has been like having thousands of friends who actually give a damn about me. Something I clearly didn't have IRL for quite a while. Anyway, buckle up because a lot has happened since my last update. So, they actually moved out on Thursday, a day early, which immediately made me suspicious. Eleanor's family never does anything ahead of schedule. They're the type to squeeze every last second out of a deadline and then ask for an extension. I had Brandon come with me to check the place first, just in case they trashed it or something. The house was weird, not destroyed, but definitely not how I left it. Besides the furniture rearrangement, I found little surprises. The thermostat was set to 63 degrees. Eleanor knows I like it at 68. All the family photos had been taken down, but only our wedding photo. My PlayStation was still there, but all my saved game data had been deleted. Petty AF. The fridge had been cleaned out completely. Not even condiments left. Someone had changed all the light bulbs to those harsh white ones I hate. Nothing worth calling the cops over, but definitely a passive-aggressive middle finger on their way out. The strangest thing was finding a letter from Eleanor on the kitchen counter. Not a goodbye note or an apology, a freaking bill. She'd itemized her share of household expenses for the past 5 years with a note saying we were now even for the $7,800. I actually took a picture and posted it on my Instagram story. The comments were wild. I texted Eleanor asking to meet at the local park the next day. Neutral territory, public place, zero chance of her bringing the entire circus again. She agreed immediately. When we met, she looked different. Not just sad or stressed, but smaller somehow, like someone had let air out of her. She started crying before I even sat down on the bench. This time, her tears didn't move me at all. Crazy how that works. Seeing someone cry used to turn me into an instant apologizing machine. Now I just waited for her to pull herself together. The conversation that followed was actually surprisingly calm. She admitted that her family had been controlling her for years, but also that she'd let them do it. The money transfers? Turns out her parents had invested in some sketchy crypto thing that tanked. They'd been guilt-tripping her for months about how they'd moved in to help us, so we should help them too. The night of the lockout was apparently Autumn's idea of a loyalty test. He'd convinced Eleanor that I was too independent and needed to be put in my place. The lock changing was supposed to be temporary, just to teach me a lesson about respecting family hierarchy. Yes, he actually used the term family hierarchy. What is this, Game of Thrones? Eleanor swore she never thought they'd keep me out all night, especially during the storm. She claimed she'd argued with them after I left, but didn't have the spine to stand up to them when it mattered. I asked the one question that had been burning in my mind. Was any of our marriage real? Or was I just a convenient ATM and housing provider for her family? Her answer was complicated. She said she did love me, but admitted she'd chosen me partly because I was stable and easy to influence. Her exact words: "I knew you'd never say no to me if I cried enough." That hit harder than the lockout, in a way. I told her I wanted a divorce. She didn't seem surprised, just asked if there was anything she could do to change my mind. I said no. Here's where it gets interesting. Remember Eleanor's Aunt Dorothy I mentioned? Turns out she was pushed out of the family for similar reasons years ago. She refused to let Eleanor's parents control her finances and life choices. I'd only met her once at our wedding, and Eleanor's parents had made sure we didn't spend much time talking. During my disappearance, I'd tracked Dorothy down on Facebook and reached out. She filled me in on the family's long history of financial manipulation and emotional blackmail. What happened to me wasn't an isolated incident, it was their pattern. Dorothy suggested something brilliant. Confront them all at once during their big monthly family dinner. She'd been reconnecting with some extended family members who were also tired of Eleanor's parents' manipulation, but had been too afraid to speak up. So last Sunday, I showed up unannounced at Eleanor's grandparents' house during their monthly dinner. Dorothy came with me for moral support. The look on everyone's face when we walked in together was priceless. Eleanor's mom actually choked on her wine. Her dad went pale. Autumn tried to leave, but his girlfriend, who I'd always liked, made him stay put. I didn't yell, didn't make a scene. I just calmly laid out everything. The lockout, the stolen money, the years of manipulation. I played the video of them laughing at me in the snow. Then Dorothy shared her story, which eerily mirrored mine. The extended family had no idea about any of this. Eleanor's grandparents were horrified. Her cousins were texting furiously, probably updating their group chat in real time. Her uncle Robert actually stood up and said he'd experienced similar treatment years ago, but thought he was the only. One by one, family members started sharing their own stories of manipulation by Eleanor's parents. It was like watching dominoes fall. Years of pent-up resentment came pouring out. The best part? Autumn finally cracked under pressure and admitted that locking me out had been a calculated move to push me away permanently. His girlfriend dumped him on the spot and asked if she could get a ride home with me and Dorothy. We said yes, obviously. Eleanor's parents tried to regain control. Her dad actually stood up and shouted that everyone needed to calm down, that I was manipulating the situation. Nobody bought it. Her mom tried to blame Eleanor for mishandling the situation. That backfired spectacularly when Eleanor finally stood up to them. She told them she was done being their puppet and that she'd lost her marriage because of their manipulation. She actually threw her phone at her dad and said she was blocking them all until they got professional help. I didn't stick around for the rest of the fallout, said my piece, helped Dorothy reconnect with family members who actually valued her, and left with my head held high. That was 2 weeks ago. Since then, the divorce papers have been filed. Eleanor didn't contest anything. I've completely redesigned the house. New paint, new furniture arrangement, even got a dog from the shelter, a chill pit mix named Banjo, who loves my recliner as much as I do. Eleanor's parents apparently left town to visit relatives. aka hide from the family shame. Autumn got fired from his job for unrelated reasons. Karma's a bitch. Dorothy and I have become good friends. She's been an amazing support. Through all this, I've reconnected with friends Eleanor's family, pushed away. The weirdest part? Eleanor came by yesterday to pick up the last of her things. She seemed different, more herself, whatever that means. She told me she started therapy and moved in with her cousin temporarily. She apologized again, not to try to get me back, but because she meant it. For a split second, I wondered what might have been if she'd found her backbone years ago. But that moment passed quickly. Some bridges, once burned, should stay ash. It's been exactly 1 month since I stood freezing in that snowstorm, watching my wife laugh at me through a window. My life looks completely different now. Not perfect. My sink is leaking and I still haven't figured out how to properly cook for, but it's mine again. I don't know what happens next, but for the first time in years, I'm actually excited to find out. When I got divorced, my own family didn't just take my ex-wife's side. They practically replaced me with her. They